Welcome back to Intake Talk Show. Today, you're going to hear the final segment, part 3, of an extraordinary journey. The story of Brittany Caldwell, actress, content creator, and fierce cancer survivor. This episode is about more than a diagnosis. It's about choosing life, even when everything around you says otherwise. Brittany opens up about the importance of advocating for yourself in the medical system, especially as a Black woman, and how she learned to lean into faith, therapy, and support systems to heal. Her words will challenge you to think about what it means to live fully, right now, not later. You'll also hear a raw reminder that you are more than your diagnosis, more than your circumstances, and that joy, forgiveness, and love are choices you can make today. So lean in, because what you're about to hear isn't just a survivor story, it's a blueprint for living. Welcome back to Intake. So we've just been having a beautiful conversation with Ms. Brittany Caldwell about her journey. She has sparked me in so many ways. There's so many things now. I'm like just sparking here in my brain that I'm like, she has to come back, right? And talk to us about some other stuff. But we were just talking about these neurons and, how we have neurons all throughout our body and the importance of how you speak to yourself and how people like me, therapists like me, help people improve their mindset and learn to see themselves differently and not really validate in themselves based on these diagnoses that we're giving during this life that we have. It's important that you understand that the diagnosis does not validate you, but you validate you. And so, Brittany, I want to ask you, during this time, did you seek therapy during this time?
I did, but it was toward the end of my wellness treatment. I wish that I had a therapist sooner. The thing is about cancer is things are overwhelming. Once you get diagnosed and you start your treatment path, things happen fast and you're like already at doctor's appointments all the time. I used to say like, oh my gosh, I feel like I just hopped into being a senior because my phone was constantly ringing from the doctor's office. They were always scheduling something. I had to be somewhere. Everybody else had control over my life and my time. So if the phone wasn't ringing about a doctor's appointment, I was kind of like, does that make sense? The first 8 weeks of my wellness treatments, I was in a show. I was in a show in Portland anyway. So that was one thing. That was like one moment of cancer, right? And then I had to fully move back to, stay in San Diego for the rest of my treatment because I was flying back and forth from Portland to San Diego. And then I got there and I kind of like had a moment where I was just trying to be settled for a little bit. And then in December, like my wellness treatment started in September. In December is probably when everything really started to hit. And that's when I needed some support. That's when I couldn't think my way, meditate my way out. And that's because physically there were other things happening. I had been catapulted into menopause. I wasn't sleeping at night because of the steroids. And although I had already lost my hair, I lost my eyebrows, and now I looked like a lizard. And that was really weighing on me. I was no longer like the cute bald head girl. I now actually looked like a cancer patient. And that was different.
Right.
Steroids were having me like puffy. And I couldn't focus anymore. Turns out there was a cancer psychiatrist and psychologist connected to my unit I was never referred to. However, the white patients were always referred to them immediately upon diagnosis. I was fortunate enough that my psychiatrist also was a psychologist. So he would help me to find medicines that help me sleep, to help me calm down, and that would counteract some of the effects of the treatment. And he was a black man, and I was really grateful because he could see me. He saw me. He saw me and the way that I had to move through this journey differently because he got me late. And he already knew when he would get his other clients. So he was very helpful in validating my experiences, which as a black woman going through cancer, it's going to come with additional struggles. We know. And if you don't know, being a black woman and having a medical condition is going to come with an additional obstacle. So I was grateful for him. And, once treatment was done and I was back settled, I'm in therapy. Still. I have a great therapist. I don't miss a week. Right? Because what I don't want is to get back to a space now that I'm free of cancer and I'm healthy where I think it's okay to be resentful again. And because you forget. You forget. When you're well, you forget all of the critical things that you learned are important. Yeah.
I love that. Okay. Brittany, you're making my mind spark. So, being a black woman, that's key because there are challenges. And can you talk to us about some of those challenges that you face as a black woman? Because I know in Florida, when I had those doctors, one was Caucasian, nothing against Caucasian doctors, because there are some great ones out there. But when they're not educated around culture, there can be some difficulties. Okay, and he gave me some medication that you would usually give cancer patients. And one of the side effects, because I'm a researcher by nature, one of the side effects was, so I never did get the medication filled. That was one of the doctors that I fired. Then I had another doctor who was an Indian doctor. He was quite well and he listened to me well, right? And while they only looked at the antibodies in my blood, nobody really tested me for lupus. Again, it wasn't until I got here, my daughter, who's a physician, said, I want you to go to this doctor. And I went to a doctor, African doctor, beautiful doctor, I love her. And she ran every test possible on me to make sure that we understood what was going on with me. And oftentimes I would talk about these things like pins and needles in my skin. I'm sleeping and I don't want the sheets to touch my skin, like it hurts so bad. You couldn't reach over and touch my skin because I'm hurting. And people were just looking at me like I was crazy. Like I'm telling a doctor that, when I'm breathing, my nose feel like it's wide open because it's so dry. And I have to put something on just to kind of breathe because it's making my head, because my nostrils are all dry. Everything is dry. But I'm talking to her and she's like, no, we have to figure this out. Get the test done, and we learned that it's Sjogren's. And what did she tell me to do? Because I have all African-American doctors come. But she gave me all natural stuff to take. Told me what to do, keep my body moving, watch what I eat, because I get flared up. Certain things make me flare up, all of that. And she told me all the natural things that I should take. And they're working. But I don't think people understand, too, that there is a side of this whole medical field that we always have to be fearful around when we're going to see doctors because they're not hearing us. She heard me. She didn't look at me crazy when I was telling her about these pins and needles.
Right.
And how it was like I was speaking a foreign language. She heard me. Okay? And because she heard me, she was able to send me to the right people to figure out what was going on with me. So can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, advocacy. And there are two things. One of the things that I experienced directly about being Black with a diagnosis is something that I talked about in my play, From Color to Black. How sometimes just proximity within the medical space can improve your treatment. So let's say you have a doctor or a nurse in your family. You said you have your daughter. They know something They know somebody. And once you go in those spaces, you will be treated different.
Right.
But if you don't know anybody, you don't know what you can ask, right?
Right.
My sister and my stepmom are nurses. And I've experienced this before. I've had other like procedures, but because they were in the room, the nurses had to step their game up. But now I already knew that. I know how they treat us in the medical industry. And there are just some things that they don't care about with Black women from my experience. First things first, I was 36 years old. Like I said, I don't have any kids. I've never been married. I still want to do that. The first oncologist that I had, he got fired because, no, we have to start treatment right now. Well, I think it's really important for me to be able to preserve my fertility. It was like he did not care. I'm like, you've heard this story before, sir. If you've been an oncologist, you know that women are going to be concerned about that. But why aren't you concerned about it? You're not concerned about this Black woman creating any little more Black babies.
Right.
Actually, let's get the show on the road. That's how I felt. You're out of here. Having to continue to advocate throughout the journey, no, I do not want a mastectomy. I understand that I could breastfeed with one, but I don't want to.
Right.
I understand I can have children without breasts. I don't want to. I was gifted with a fertility preserving treatment by Dr. Sherman Silver in St. Louis. He is a godsend. He took a whole ovary out, and for cancer patients, he does it for them. Whole nother story, another day. Magic, though. Beliefs.
Yeah.
But throughout the journey, I had to keep telling people, I want to keep my titties. No, I don't want you to take out my other ovary because I have the BRCA gene.
Right.
I'm not going to get ovarian cancer. And if I do, well, I'm going to try to have these babies first. Relax. You're not going to take all of my lady bits and chop me down.
Right.
And try to pump me with fear to get me to submit. I wheeled and dealed throughout my entire process. I had to. The thing about it is, though, is if you aren't educated, if you have, and it's, I know, like people always say, do your research. But you guys, there's plenty of people who have shared their experiences online. Reddit was so helpful for me because there are real people who are talking about their breast cancer journey. You can find any diagnosis in there, and people are just having conversation. That is the way that I learned the most. So I had the opportunity to learn through their experiences, to ask the questions. Ask everything. It is your body. Ask every question, and they have to answer. And if they don't have the answers that make you feel comfortable, ask somebody else. Get second opinions, and don't be afraid. They will try to press you into moving fast because there's a lot of money in cancer treatment. There is a lot. So if you don't feel right about it, if you don't feel comfortable, if you don't feel like these people are looking out for your best interest, find somebody who is. My first surgeon, my lumpectomy surgeon, he treated me like he was my brother. He cared about me as a human. He understood what I needed. He was my surgeon. That was my homeboy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
If they don't feel like that, then they're probably not the person for you. You should trust your gut and your heart as well as the information. This is multifaceted. You got to feel like you're in the right hands with these people and ask questions until you do feel like you're in the right hands. And if you don't, leave.
I love that. Love that. I'm going to share a real quick story. Some years ago, my daughter is the producer of the show, by the way. My daughter had a knot in her chest, right? We went to see a doctor, and the doctor sent us here to Atlanta. And turns out we needed to go see this particular hospital I will not name. this doctor told us that they could do a procedure to help her out, right? Um, and they were telling me that she had this tumor here, and they had to check to see if it was benign and all of that. But they didn't know what it was. Well, I'm a natural researcher, so I'm sitting in the waiting room, and I'm looking, and I'm like, okay, this sounds like a desmoid tumor, right? And so I go and I ask the doctor, I said, you sure it's not a desmoid tumor? And he's like, no, I don't think so. It really isn't, right? And I'm like, but how do you know, right? So he goes and takes out my child's ribs right across here, right? So he took it out, okay? Put this little cow skin over her. Comes back and go, oh, it was a desmoid tumor. All right? Years down the road, quick story. And these were Caucasian people. Bless their heart out, yeah. But anyway, years down the road, my daughter, the youngest, was noticing that she was breathing heavy. And she's like, you breathing heavy. We need to get you to the doctor. We take her to the emergency room. The cow skin had come apart and kind of laying there, and she was having trouble breathing. Just so happened, the same doctor who referred us to the doctor here in Atlanta was on call at the hospital and was her doctor. Came in, saw what happened. He had to go back in and take this out. He came in and said, what doctor did this? Why would they even do this to you? That was just so unnecessary. This wouldn't happen. And I'm sitting back going, So I said, do you not remember that you are the doctor that referred us to these people? He was like, what? I said, yeah, you are the doctor who referred us to the doctor that did this. And now you're telling us they didn't have to go to this extreme. They never had to take out her ribs. They could have treated this desmoid tumor, never taken out her rib, never taken out and putting this calf on it. You can even remember that you sent us to these people. And now you have to fix the mess that these people made. So it is important, I'm saying this for a reason, it is important that you advocate, right? At the time, I'm just a mother just sitting there like, there's a tumor in my baby's chest, right? And I'm reading about these desmoid tumors and, researching. And I'm trying to advocate, but didn't know enough, right? And so in my ignorance with not knowing enough, I allowed these people to do this thing. And then was upset later on when I realized they didn't have to do it. And she realized this because she went to another doctor, and the nurse that was helping her said, baby, I got a desmoid tumor, and they ain't have to take nothing out of me. They just treating it. Okay? And so it is important that you learn to advocate for yourself. Stop and think. Sometimes we panic when people say certain things and we go for the first answer. It's okay to get a second, third, fourth opinion until you get the answer that you need, until you feel comfortable with what you need. Mm-hmm. It is okay to do that, because unless you do that, you could be totally maimed by these things that they're doing that they don't have to do. So,
to your point, slow down the process.
Right.
Right? When there's money to be made, they're going to get you in.
Right.
Slow down. You're going to be okay for another week.
Right.
You really will. Don't let them scare you into thinking that it has to happen now.
Right.
That's their favorite thing.
Yeah. Exactly. Whew. Okay, Brittany. So let's keep talking. All right. Is there any way, and I'm going to let you answer this question. After having cancer, is there a way that cancer has changed your life, your outlook on life in any way?
Yeah. A lot of ways. Cancer has shown me that it could be all over. I know we all know that we are going to die. But we wait so long to live.
Could you say that again? Please say that again.
We all know that we're going to die. But we often wait so long to live. And cancer made me think, like, what am I waiting for? In ways I didn't even know I was waiting. I didn't know. Like, are you waiting to enjoy your life? Are you waiting to follow the dream? Are you waiting to say that apology? Whatever it is, you don't really have the time to wait.
Mm-hmm.
I got very clear
Mm-hmm.
on what's important to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
you know how you think you know yourself? It's the people in my life that are most important to me. Those relationships matter.
Mm-hmm.
But also, the biggest thing, I had no idea how much I valued myself.
Mm.
And I don't know if I would have the moment to have to realize that until I had to choose to live. I am worth being on this planet.
Mm-hmm.
I am worth loving to health.
Mm-hmm.
I am worth seeing it through for.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know how important I was to me.
I love that. I love that. We're going to take just a minute. I want you all to see this next video, and we're going to come back and talk about it.
When life hits you with the biggest challenges, you have a choice. You can either live or you can die. Spiritually, mentally, emotionally, you do have a choice. And while the physical part may not all the way be on our time, we can choose to live while we're still here. When I was faced with cancer, I made a decision to live. I chose to live, no matter how much time I had left. I knew I wanted to live. And I knew I wanted to love. I'm forever grateful for the people who chose to love me through the difficult days. I'm grateful for the love that made the worst days fun. And like my best friend always says, it's only a moment. But this moment showed me that without a doubt, I am loved. And more importantly, I learned how much I really, truly loved myself. Look, for some people, cancer may have been the worst thing that ever happened to them. But I thank God that that hasn't been my experience. Honestly, I thank God for those 3 hours in a room with the people I love the most.
All right. All right. Here we go.
Without a doubt, I will prevail. I have 0 more until I ring that bell. Ring the bell 3 times. It's told to clearly say, my treatment's done, its course is run, and I am on my way.
Facing a cancer diagnosis is an extreme challenge. It sucks. But you can give cancer the power, or you can keep living. And I chose to live and love my way through. And I'm so grateful for all of the love that surrounded me as I went through this thing.
So in this video, I believe it was your last day of wellness treatment. I love that. And your family, friends were outside waiting for you. What was that like, having that support system? And do you think you could have made it through this process without them?
No. It's not even could I have, I wouldn't have wanted to. And they wouldn't have wanted to make me do it by myself. One of the scariest parts about going into cancer as a single woman is knowing that it's just you.
Right.
And to walk out to a sea of love like that with the people who really were there. It's like, you know, it's tricky. My family all signed up on, like, I made an Excel spreadsheet and they chose the day that they would take me to my wellness treatment. And they would pick me up and we'd go and have our several hours together. And that time was valuable. It was valuable. Because it wasn't comfortable for anybody, you know? Like, it's not like this is fun. And they got over themselves to endure with me. And sometimes we would have the most fun in that little room. You know, it's just me and one person that I love for 3+ hours, nobody else. And it's very rare that we get time with people like that anymore. My siblings all have kids. So, like my sister, I never get to just sit with her without her kids. Everybody's got babies. And because spiritually I was in such a good place, somehow Mondays when I had wellness treatment was almost my favorite day of the week, because I would be with one of my favorite people and that would sustain me. Like, I'd be up. And they were so wonderful about getting on the same page with me. They don't all believe what I believe in, right? But when they were with me, they made sure that they had their A game on, that strong face, that positive spirit. They flipped the switch for me. And they just never let me feel whatever they might have been fearing. They did so good. And I created finish lines for myself, like the rest of the video. And doing the videos at the end of each wellness treatment was a finish line. Who am I going to get to play with today? And what are we going to create to make this day? Man, we made a step forward. Because there's so many steps to wellness. And if you wait till the end, that is like you trying to eat the whole elephant in one go. I had to break it down and have little victories along the way. So every week I got to celebrate a win with somebody I love. And they got to do that with me. And they knew how important it was to me. It didn't matter how silly I was being or what I asked them to do, they did it. And that helped to feed the creative side of, you know, like, they were so good. They were so good. They were good to me. And I didn't get to go home to anybody, right? But thank God I was strong enough to not need anybody physically in the house with me. I was all right. They made sure I had everything I needed, but I was all right.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it. Support systems are needed. And they help you get through life. I think it's important that we all have a good support system, right? That support system that don't always have to believe as you believe, but they're willing to jump on with you and say, no, we're going to believe in a positive way right now for you. And that's it. And that is the greatest thing about good support systems. Like, they help us with so many different things. Brittany, if you had one thing that you can say to the viewer, listening, or watching this video today, struggling with cancer or any other illness, what would you say to them?
Well, just to piggyback on that last thing you just said, I wanted to make sure that it's clear. Although my support system was there physically, and I had a really great tribe, I had a lot of support from my social media friends. And it was because I chose to share and I allowed them in. I mean, I had people who checked on me every single day. I had people who would call me for that time where I was by myself. So support can look a lot of different ways if you allow the support to be there. And I'm not saying you're going to know what you need. You often don't. But if you allow people to support you, they will show up. Can you ask me that question one more time? I'm sorry.
Okay, I was going to ask you again anyway. And this is what I want you to do. I want you to look into that camera. And I want you, if you have one thing to say to listeners, to people that are viewing this video right now, who are struggling with cancer or any other illness, what would you say to them?
You're facing something that is challenging, no doubt. You may not have chosen whether you have this diagnosis or not, but you have a choice right now. You can either choose to live or you can choose to die. And I don't mean in your physical body. I mean spiritually, mentally, and emotionally. And if you choose life, that means that you choose to live fully, joyfully, and to the best of your ability for whatever time you have left. That includes loving on yourself, the people around you, forgiving yourself and the people around you, and doing the things that you love the most before your time is done, whether it's this diagnosis or something else. And that is your choice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Brittany, thank you so much for being here. I really do want you to come back. Okay? You're welcome to come back. We're going to have more conversations. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing your journey with us. Okay?
Thank you for sharing with me as well. And having me.
You're welcome. Okay, y'all, that's the end of this show, even though I don't want to come. But that's the end of the show. So I want you to continue to talk about mental health and how to make yours a priority. Have a great one. If you are a professional or someone with a story and would like to be a guest on the show, go to our website, intaketalkshow.com, and complete the form to be a guest. Perhaps you are someone with a question or comment that you would like addressed on the show. Again, go to our website, intaketalkshow.com, and complete the contact form.